Now, the fifth expression of Leo, straightforwardness, is studied. Which is one of the lovely qualities of Leo. They tell it the way it is. They don't play these games and hold back and be confusing like so many of the other signs can do. What you see is what you get with Leo. This is me and I like it and you're having it, and there it is, straightforwardness. You have this strange image in Leo 21 of the intoxicated chickens. They're drunk. They've been taking alcohol or some food that has gone beyond its right period, and they're drunk. They're intoxicated. And that's a very strange image to suggest that that's a life path for anyone. And it represents the certainty that none of us will ever understand the whole picture. And therefore, to some significant extent, we're going to be confused. We're going to be confused about the nature of spiritual reality, the nature of workaday, worldly reality, who we are, what God is. We are going to be confused, no question. And that's like the drunken chicken. A chicken runs around like a headless chicken, but not quite knowing what to do, stumbling around and so on. So what we have to do is to know how to cope with that aspect of us. And straightforwardly is the answer. If you're confused, be confused. Make it really clear that you don't know. And this is a bit of a challenge sometimes for some people. I mean, Leo is not without this challenge of identifying the self's worth with the ego rather than the soul. And the warning here and the growth for Leo to go through is not to do that. To understand that the self, the ego self, is impure. It's imperfect. It's confused and somewhat stumbling around in the dark a little bit sometimes. And to face up to that and to know how to deal with that. And we deal with that by centering, by just being straight with who we are and what's going on, straight with the world about that, just holding the steady breath amongst that. And we find that then these confused ideas and inputs and yearnings, these actually, come together into something that's actually workable. And we have in Leo 22 something of an explanation of what that might be. The carrier pigeon. It's a messenger, it's carrying a message, isn't it? And that's what we are. We're carrier pigeons for God. We're carrying a message of God. And it's just that leads to some kind of objection from many people. Most people don't like that. They don't like to think of themselves as a messenger of God. It sounds too overblown and pompous and self-important. Well, it's not. The message that we are, the message that we're carrying from God, is nothing more or less than who we are. That's the message. And how could we be more or less than that? How could anyone else be more or less than that? We are all carrying a certain message. We are all messengers carrying the message of who we are. That's the image here. And it's not a cleverness with words that we're studying. It's a deep mystery. Because it's saying, like, whatever you feel to be, whatever you think you are, just do that and see what happens. That's the message you're required to bring. So just bring that. You don't have to understand it. It's a carrier pigeon. The pigeon doesn't understand what's written on the message on its leg. We're carrying the message of God into the world. And the authenticity of delivery of that message is being who we are. Now, Leo 23 explains to us the bareback rider. It's all to do with audaciousness, audacity. It takes a certain amount of courage to ride a horse, which is without a saddle. It's quite audacious. It takes courage for us to be ourselves. And unless we learn to practice audacity, then we don't get it. Audacity is a spontaneous energy. Whatever has happened, whatever are the criteria of conformity within the community, all of this stuff, it's not the point. I feel like doing this. It's the authentic expression spontaneously of my being, to be straightforward in who I am. Then you become audacious, less constrained by society's requirements. We can go further with that in Leo 24, when this untidy, unkempt man, a tramp, he looks a mess. It's not important how you look. It's not important to conform to society's requirements unless they actually matter. And whereas certain behaviors matter, and we must not behave too badly in society or society breaks down, certain things actually don't matter at all. And as long as you're covering yourself to maintain a certain level of decency, you don't have to follow fashion. You don't have to do anything about how you look, nor really how you speak, nor really the content of what you say. You don't have to worry about any of that. What you have to do is just to focus on the important things, and not to lose your sense of doing what other people say might be important, like dressing up properly. You have to keep your eyes on the authentic, straightforward expression of what is true for you, and not give in to social pressure to conform to their standards that may not be your own. And in fact, we can then learn about self-sufficiency, sort of depending only upon our own criteria of rightness of being. And this is the camel, the large camel crossing the desert. It doesn't need water, just it's got everything it needs on its own back in its hump. It's an image of having reached a place in life where we want this and we want that, and we would love to have something else, but we need none of it. We've actually attended to all our needs. What that means really is that you don't have a problem self-parenting. You're not looking for someone to pat you on the head and say, well done, or here's your meal. You can deal with those things yourself. What it means is that you don't look for validation. You don't look for somebody to take care of your needs. And children need to be taken care of, and some other people do as well. But that middle bit, that adult bit, which we're discussing here, really you have to break free of the habits that were developed in childhood, where you looked for someone else to take care of you, whether that was a parent, a relation, or a school teacher, or an authority figure of another kind. We were trained to expect somebody else to look after our needs. And we have to put that aside. At some point in our 20s, we learn to deal with our own needs, and then begin to start taking care of other people as we move into family life. So this image of the camel crossing the desert is that we're going through life developing a sense of not needing very much. And in the end, it is need that we need to put aside if we're to be free, isn't it? So, straightforwardness, just be who you are, be audacious with it, take care of yourself, don't get too confused, be honest about any imperfections you have in your ego, and just tell it like it is, be who you are, be free of society as much as you can be.